All right. So the next thing that we need to do is actually grab the starter kit. And the starter kit, and I know I said that we're going to be coding this from scratch, and effectively we are. The starter kit really isn't much. It's just a couple of folders, but the folders are set up architecturally. So the directories and the way that we're going to build everything is going to be done from the ground up. But I wanted to at least give an outline. And instead of just doing an outline presentation, I figured the best way to give you an outline is to actually show you how it's done. Where and how we want to put our components files, where and how we want to write our configuration files, where and how and why we want to put our contract files, our test files. All of these things really do matter. It's not just throwing things around. There is a sense of architecture and design when you are on the coding side. All right. So, all right. And that's a very young and ridiculous picture of me that I need to change. So please just ignore this picture. I got to update that. Wow. All right. All right. So to grab the staking app starter kit, the DeFi staking app starter kit, which is essentially the name of the dApp that we're going to be making, what you want to do is actually grab it from GitHub. Now you could actually go to now without getting into too much of what GitHub is, essentially GitHub is just a place for repositories for code. So you can put up your code and then you can share open source code, you can build code. It's really great for teamwork, for development, for open source projects. And it's great for you and it also works for our project and also works for you working on our project because you can just grab it from my repository. So in order to grab my project from my GitHub repository, what you can do is you can just go to your terminal and make sure that you're in the desktop or make sure that you're somewhere in the terminal where you're in some directory where this file is going to be. So maybe you've got a special directory for that, like projects or like projects, learning projects, application projects, coding projects, something like that, right? So go into that file folder, that directory. I'm going to put it in the desktop. And then what you want to do is clone my project. And by cloning the project, all that really means is you're going to copy the project and download it. So there's two ways to actually grab my code. Two ways to actually grab the code. The first way is that you want to go to github.com/01clarion. All right. So that's me. And that's going to pull up my portfolio, whether or not you have an account. All right. From there, you're going to click on repositories. When you click on repositories, the first repository you're going to see is called DeFi Staking App Starter, unless I've made a couple more by now. In that case, just scroll down till you find it, or you can just search for it in the text. All right. When you find DeFi Staking App Starter, you click on that, and then it's as easy as just clicking on this green button, code. If you do that, you can download it as a zip. All right. Or you can clone it. Now, to clone the repository, what you need to do is you just copy this HTTPS. All right. So we copy the HTTPS, then we go back to our terminal. From the terminal, we write git clone and then put in the repository. And remember that we want to add this to somewhere. And remember that we want to add this to a directory somewhere in our terminal where we can access this, where it makes sense. So you want to put it either in a folder where you're doing projects, you're building code, or whatever it is. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to place this. All right. So I'm going to hit git clone and return. Okay. So now git clone essentially is going to just download and install everything for us. After doing that, what we want to do is cd into DeFi staking app. Okay. And now let's hit list to make sure that we're in it. And when we do, we actually see that there's another file, DeFi Staking App Starter, and we want to go into this file. So we want to cd again into DeFi Staking App Starter. And then from there, we are actually in the project, and this is the source of the project. This is where our index is. And we're going to see later on what I mean by that. But essentially, this is where we render all of our front end and we run our truffle testing, our back end, and our hooking up to the blockchain. So we want to keep it inside the DeFi staking app starter in the DeFi staking app starter. All right. So we want to be in here in the terminal. So even if you download it as a zip file, you want to make sure that then you go in your terminal into the folder, into the folder. Okay. Now from here, we want to open up all our files in our text editor. And I can do this simply by typing code period. The period is for all, and code. And when I do that, it opens up our entire package.